So here I am. I was watching some videos and reading up some posts, and it's kind of funny. And it's hard not to giggle. I had a guy who I dare say I do respect. He was telling me he belonged to a, his belief. He didn't tell me what he believed specifically because it probably not advantageous, but it was quite evident. And it was a book based on a promise. And he was really adamant about this promise. Now I kind of chuckle. I mean, it's his belief. It's his methodology of believing and this promise. But that's fine for him. I always have that stance. Whatever works for you is best for you. We all have free will. Now, what the contradiction is, when people who follow through with a promise think what's good for them is going to be good for you. I always find it kind of weird. I saw a little Buddha saying I liked. It was, people take different roads seeking fulfillment and happiness. Just because they're not on your road does not mean they're lost. Which is true. Because, if you're going to have other phenomena going on as well. Because a lot of people believe their way is the best way. But it is. It's the best way for them. What they don't conceive or consider is that every person has a beat of their own drummer, and everybody has a different size shoe, and everyone has a different direction. When you look at common courtesy, it's a very subjective term. What I would consider common courtesy, I would consider it almost equating to common sense. But we know the world isn't full of that either. Another phenomenon I bump into, if you belong to a labeling of a paradigm and it's the same one as the person next to you, and my thinking is, when they start telling you yours is different, or you are different, or theirs is better, it still has the same cognition. And again, the lack of common courtesy and common respect. So if a good example, if one person's a witch, another person's a witch, and if they have two different methodologies of how they're going to do it, or how they practice what they do, then what happens is you'll have a dichotomy or a conflict. I'm right, you're wrong, this is my method, this is not your method. But a lot of people are just simply not educated. Or I've also seen people who bring their luggage from where they came from to their new paradigm, bringing in the conflicts of the old. So whatever reason they left, they become the very reason of implementing the same type of things that happen to them to make them leave. They actually now are mirroring how they were victimized, and are now mirroring to perpetrate the same thing to other people. So if you're a witch, and you're a current witch, and you left a Christian group, for instance, stereotypically, you'll be part of a witch group now, but you'll act like the Christian counterpart that was bothering you before you became a witch, because you didn't know how to get rid of it in the first place. So figuring if you change the channel, that does not remove the image from your mind from the previous channel. So a lot of people have a lot of baggage. I like the occult world. To me, it's just a whole world of batshit crazy, and I can just revel in it. We all have our ups and downs. We all have our moments. We all have our levels of crazy, if you would. I wouldn't change a goddamn thing. I mean, to me, it's perfect. In that respect, those who have common sense can prevail, and those who are just stupid are entertaining. You see? That kind of goes for, all religious people, not occult particularly or specifically. But yeah, it is entertaining. Because even like in my paradigm of the left-hand path, you're going to have those who are now becoming more sanctioned, more secular, more divided. So it becomes different disciplines. Almost, I hate to say it, was becoming like witchcraft, where witchcraft or paganism was encompassing of like candle magic and herbs, and and if you notice, they break it up now in little segments. You got your candle magic as a total separate subject. It's like you almost go to school now. I mean, if you broke it down so much, you can literally develop a school where you have candle magic class in the morning, and you have your herbs in the afternoon, and then you have your astrology, after that, and so on and so forth. Where it used to be all encompassing, now it's all divided. And even the left-hand paths like that now. It's kind of amusing. You'll have those who are practicing the sinister. You'll have those who talk about the material. You get those who are spiritualists. You get those who are about polytheism. And so, I mean, it is all comical because, again, what once was a bit encompassing with some degrees. Some paradigms are encompassing, but others there are so divided. But then they'll showboat, I'm the better one. So it's kind of hard not to take light or humor to all that because, well, let's face it, it's the internet. Personally, back in the 80s, I read tons of books, and I think the reason why we all go on the internet is because it's interactive. So you type something, someone types something back to you, and there are thousands of people worldwide that you're doing this with. Even video chat and what have you. So, anyway, not to show my age, but I remember the days of rotary dial. But anyway. But I figure I'll share the observation of how we are evolving as occultists in general. Because if you have a better insight, you'll have a better surrounding. That's why I try to surround myself with as many different people as possible. I did a pagan release ceremony, and I met 3 people who literally belonged to paradigms I had no clue about. Never heard of it. And that's the best part of what I do. Would I've met them otherwise if I had a prejudice against a pagan or a witch or any white lighter? And if you think about it, if you have such a prejudice, how does your scope become? Is it limited or expanse? And so for me, I believe that you surround people a lot. But it's funny, even when I do surround myself with many different occultists, not that I expect it, but the same common courtesy or eyes wide open to the environment around you is not shared with me. I'm not crying victim or foul. But again, it is funny when you hear them cry victim and foul, and then it's like, well, didn't you just treat me like a piece of shit? Did you treat me like that person treated you, but yet you're crying like a little, So, not related, but I wanted to say this pagan thing, and I bumped into some people. There was one called Ekankar, and it's an interesting belief system. Then there's a thing called the Silva mind control, which is a conscious thing. Another guy got me who belonged to something that was kind of interesting. It's a Gobekli tape, and it's like the first temple, and it was made like 10,000 years even before the pyramids. So I mean, it's really cool. So I found these 3 different people and 3 different belief systems, and I wrote them down. I grabbed my phone, I got my notebook out, and I said, you know how people pay attention? And they go, what? When they start taking notes. If they start yesing you to death, they're blowing smoke up your ass of the self-interest they're showing. And they looked at me funny, and I'm like, I'm pointing out obvious things, but I put it in my own way. So yeah, if I have a notepad on my phone, so I type in what they're telling me, and that's just for me to remember later on. But if you think about it, if it's really important, unless you have a steel trap mind, if someone writes shit down in front of you, you should expect, you would see the fact that the interest is genuine. So I put those 3 up there after I met the 3 people. Well, other thing I notice is another type of labeling occultists do, in particular with witches, but not specifically. But I have seen it, and or pagans or any other white lighter, if you would. They'll if you disagree with them or you say something in contradiction to what they are doing, they'll say things to take back control of the conversation by saying, "I don't want your negativity here." Negativity. They know what negativity is. I mean, I've got the shit in my hand to throw it at them. You know, what's negativity? It's very subjective, kind of like good and evil. But when you have a dichotomy presence, you're going to have a dichotomy mind. So, but it was funny because when I introduced myself in this particular eclectic group of people, they had an interest in what I was doing, but I felt a vibe. I felt an arm's distance vibe type of thing, because it's very cultural for people to be accepting, and then when you leave, it's very cultural to have 3 or 4 knives in your back, that kind of thing. But if you do that with a left-hand path, it's totally different. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. When you walk into a group of Satanists and you're having a social, shit gets called out right on the bat. You can tell them you believe in whatever, and they'll ask you 20 questions about it. They'll challenge you on your own paradigm. They'll ask questions about your paradigm. They'll never tell you you're wrong, necessarily. But they will like to have a full explanation of who and what you believe and how you believe it. Nothing wrong with that. But when you're well versed in the occult, don't blow smoke up someone's ass, because they'll catch on. That's why I like these guys. I've been part of them for over 30 years. The bullshit gets done quick. It's called quick. Ta-da. But they have their own level of bullshit too. That's why I stick around. It's more entertaining to fuck with people than fuck with other people. So, but anyways, these are my observations for the new year, 2014. I figure, eventually we'll wake up, we'll grow up, we'll self-realize who and what we really are, and identify for who and what we align ourselves with. But also, don't take too much heed in other people's horseshit, bullshit, or even receive it. Because if they're too busy worried about you, then they obviously lacked the insight for themselves. My 2 cents for the year 2014. See ya.